An article done by William H. Frey in March of 2018 states, new census population projections confirm the importance of racial minorities as the primary demographic engine of the nation's future growth, countering an aging, slow-growing, and soon-to-be declining white population. The new statistic projects that the nation will become minority white in 2045. The shift is the result of two trends. First, between 2018 and 2060, gains will continue in the combined racial minority population, growing by 74%. Second, during this time frame, the aging white population will see a modest immediate gain through 2024 and then experience a long-term decline through 2060. A consequence of more deaths than births. And then I found this in an article done by Jeff Stein and Andrew Van Dam in February of 2018. President Trump's proposal to cut legal immigration rates would delay the date that white Americans become a minority of the population by as few as 1 or as many as 5 additional years, according to an analysis by the Washington Post. The plan, released by the White House last month, would scale back a program that allows people residing in the United States to sponsor family members living abroad for green cards and would eliminate the diversity visa program that benefits immigrants in countries with historically low levels of migration to the United States. Together, the change would disproportionately affect immigrants from Latin America and Africa. The Census Bureau projects that minority groups will outnumber non-Hispanic whites in the United States in 2044. The Post's analysis projects that where Trump's plan to be carried out, the date would be between 2045 and 2049, depending on how parts of it are implemented. The article goes on to say, all told, the proposal could cut off entry for more than 20 million legal immigrants over the next 4 decades. The change could have profound effects on the size of the U.S. population and its composition, altering projections for economic growth and the age of the nation's workforce, as well as shaping its politics and culture, demographers and immigration experts say. By greatly slashing the number of Hispanic and Black African immigrants entering America, this proposal would reshape the future United States. Decades ahead, many fewer of us would be non-white or have non-white people in our families, said Michael Clemens, an economist at the Center for Global Development, a think tank that has been critical of the proposal. Selectively blocking immigrant groups changes who America is. This is the biggest attempt in a century to do that. All right. So as it turns out, in the late 1990s or early 2000s, it was announced that whites will become a minority within a few decades. Then, following that, a black man, Barack Obama, became president, representing a shift of power and a change that white supremacists weren't comfortable with. So my next question is it really a surprise who largely comprises Donald Trump's fan base and support groups? This wall isn't to protect Americans. This wall isn't to protect Americans from criminals, drugs, and rapists. I've already expressed that those problems already exist, absent of Mexico's involvement. It's not about the safety of this country. One of the things to take into account is this current government shutdown. All right, so with the current government shutdown, you have employees. Let's take TSA for example. A lot of TSA employees are calling in sick, or they're not able to make it to work due to lack of funds for transportation, whether it be bus fare, cab fare, Uber fare, gas money for their cars, whatever. In addition, you have federal employees who are working without being paid. Stresses are still building up because the bills are still due. They still have to put food on the table. You know, so on and so forth. So this, this diminishes morale. It diminishes, how dedicated you are to your job, which could compromise security here in the United States. Now, I want to say that because TSA does a lot with the airports, and we've already seen terrorists' ability to hijack airplanes. They've used them in 9/11. There have been other plots, not necessarily to hijack airplanes, but even to just blow them up in midair. Let's not forget about the shoe bomber, the guy who was caught with the bomb in his shoe. He was trying to light it, and another passenger on board, was able to stop him. There's another plot that was foiled that a lot of people may not know about. If you get the chance, look up the Bojinka plot. Had that been successfully carried out, that would have been worse than 9/11 as far as body counts go. And it is already gone on record that the majority of people of interest and suspected terrorists are generally captured at airports. So this government shutdown is more of a it does more to compromise our security and our safety than it does in any way to contribute toward it. So another thing is that although there are Canadians here illegally, Europeans here illegally, Asians here illegally, the primary focus is on Latinos. Why? Because with Latinos immigrating into the U.S. and with a large Latino population here in the U.S. already, it is the Latinos who largely contribute to the U.S. population. As whites are not only they're not having babies fast enough, and soon they're going to have a large portion of their elderly community, unfortunately die, but time comes, for us all. So what that does is that affects, that affects the population, it affects the numbers, and basically this wall is designed, as I've already stated, there are immigrants who are trying to enter the country legally who are being blocked and prevented from entering the country. The wall is the wall is more intended to keep out those who could change the demographic, the majority here in the United States. And because of this, this is what I believe, just based off of these findings and so much more, is because of this, which is why I can't support that wall. That, in addition to, the claims of, it'll stop the drugs and the criminals and all that, which is a bunch of, it's just not true. But it's because of this that I don't support the wall. I do believe that we do need, better border security, but the wall is not the solution, and the wall's agenda is not what they put it out to be. Excuse me. And even though, there are some people, like I said, who could probably come up with a pretty good argument about why we do need the wall. Even if we had the wall, it's, there's basically a Band-Aid on top of a wound that needs surgery, emergency surgery. It's really not doing anything. It's just a very expensive Band-Aid. If you want to deal with issues of why people are migrating to the U.S., well, then the root of their problem is back in their home country. Just something to think about. All right, so before I close, I will state this. My personal beliefs, they're my beliefs. Not only are they my beliefs, but I've taken, some of these claims directly from white supremacists. Many of them in their own groups, their own chat groups and so on and so forth have stated, exactly this. I'm not going to give them free publicity by stating which groups those are. If you're already a part of those groups, then you already know what I'm talking about. If you're not, I don't encourage, anyone to go into those groups, because I have seen I'm not the only person who's infiltrated those groups. There are other people who infiltrate those groups just to stir up problems. I didn't go there to stir up problems. I went there to hear other people's point of views and, you know, basically listen to the things that they won't say in our faces, so on and so forth. You can learn like that. But they've stated, these things themselves. So a lot of this is based off of, my personal views. A lot of it is supported by their views, and then when you have Trump on television, trying to dehumanize, Mexican immigrants and anyone from, south of the border, and I'm recognizing it as tactics that are used against us as blacks. Yeah, I can't be for that. I can't support that. This is not a white versus everybody else thing, though. I will go on record as saying that this is not a white versus everybody else thing. We got to learn to decipher whites and white supremacists, people with white supremacy ideology, and just white people in general. So I'm not encouraging, through this video, to hate on whites that are supporting the wall, so on and so forth. There are people who legitimately believe that putting that wall in place is going to stop drugs from coming into this country. Is not. There are people who legitimately believe that putting that wall in place is going to stop rapists from coming into this country. Do the search on that website and you will see that you are surrounded by rapists and pedophiles and so on and so forth. So the people coming into this country aren't your imminent concern. You probably should be concerned about your neighbor and in some cases family members and close friends. And then in regards to crime, we have all kinds of issues which that pertain to crime that I'm going to touch in other videos, because I just can't cover all of that in one video. But basically what Trump is putting out there is exactly what he claims gets put against him is fake news. There's going to be bad groups of people, bad individuals amongst every group, so is there a possibility that there's a small select group of those individuals that make it over here into the U.S.? Yes. Are they an imminent threat to you? No. Threat, maybe, way down the road. Imminent threat? No. We have issues that we're ignoring now that pertains to drugs, that pertains to crime, that pertains to rapists that we're ignoring. And I'm going to touch all of that in following videos, but I just want to encourage you not to believe the hype, in regards to, oh, this wall is going to protect you. It's not going to protect you. There's all kinds of evidence and research that supports that this wall is designed or intended to stop Latinos from coming into the country, which would, in a few short years, cause the white population to become a minority, because there is no border along, or there is no wall, along Canada, to stop white Canadians from coming into the U.S. There is no, I haven't seen it personally, and I haven't seen ICE agents running around snatching up Asians and European immigrants in the masses. There may be a few incidences here and there, but I guarantee you, they've rounded up way more Latinos than they have Europeans or Asians. I have known of people of African descent being rounded up personally down here. But I can't say that it's happened in the masses, so that's just something to think about. Like, why is the focus only on Mexico, putting the wall on Mexico, when I've already stated, that there are immigrants from all over the world, that are here illegally, so, it's kind of hard, to not include race, especially when that the majority of people, white individuals who have been in power for so long, when the fact is out there, hey, there's a black president, hey, there's Latino people taking up positions in Congress and in various, places of political power. You know, that's just something to take into consideration. So, no, I don't support the wall. You know, if we're going to deal with border security, then we need to get to the root of the problems that we have at the border. And it's not simply just people coming into the country. The problem started way before, you know, somebody came to the country or whatever. If we're having issues with our healthcare system or anything like that being abused, you know, or used up, you know, taxpayers' dollars, so on and so forth, I've already come up with solutions about that, which I've already dropped one video. Whole bunch of smoke over there. I've already dropped one video pertaining to that, but I'm gonna go more in depth about it later. So there are solutions to a lot of these issues, you know, and those are the problem. You know, we need to get to the root of those problems, not put band-aids on them. So hopefully I've made my case. Again, these are my views, supported by the views of people, you know, with certain beliefs, and even with certain comments coming out of Donald Trump's mouth himself, you know. So I thank you for watching this video, or both of these videos, because it's a two-part video. I encourage you to, if you have questions, comments, concerns, gripes, whatever, go ahead and drop it down in the comment section. I'm not about all that racism and hate and stuff like that. So if you're going to be spewing a whole bunch of racism and hate and stuff like that in the comment section, keep that to yourself. If you have questions or concerns pertaining to racism, you know, immigration, the wall, anything on this topic, feel free to go ahead and drop that down there. But, you know, keep the negativity to yourself. We can have a healthy debate, you know. But I'm not, you know, I don't want all the arguing and all that stuff. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your time in watching this video.